Hi! In this video, we'll take a look at one of the most important tags of the whole HTML markup language, the anchor tag. The anchor tag defines a hyperlink, a destination document where the user will be taken to if the hyperlink is followed. It's a sort of a door that connects or links to resources on the internet. Let's see how we can define it and use it. So let's get back to our editor and create a new file, Command N or Control N on Windows or Linux, and create another HTML document with some content. Let's suppose that we are creating a terms and condition page. So we can have our top type HTML, because if you remember, this is the first line that every HTML5 must have, because it tells the browser what kind of version of HTML we are using in this document. Then the root element of the whole document that will contain all of the HTML markup and content of this page. An add section that contains the non-visible part of the content of the document, and we use for the title of the page that will show up in the browser bar or in the tab if the browser has tabs. And then the body element with the opening and closing tags that contains what the user actually sees on the page. And so we have a header. Well, in this case we are just using a simple heading tag, so we don't need a header tag. That's why we generally use a header tag only when we have to display in the heading part of the document something more than one single title. If we just have a title, we can just omit the header tag and use an H1 or one of the other headings tag. And then content for the terms and condition. And maybe we can also have a footer. We can save this file. We can call it terms and conditions.html. Okay. Now, let's suppose that in our master index HTML page, we want to have a footer with the link to the terms and condition document. When the user clicks on the link, the browser will load and display the content of the new document. And this is how it's done. So we get back to the index HTML. We add a footer section. With a link to the terms and condition. The link is implemented using the anchor tag. But this, of course, doesn't tell the browser where the user will be redirected to if he clicks on this link. For this purpose, the anchor tag accepts an attribute that is called href. If you remember, an HTML attribute, it's a key value pair that you put in the opening tag and gives additional information and additional instructions to the browser on how to use that specific tag. Each tag can accept multiple attributes. In this case, the anchor tag supports the href attributes that specifies the URL, the address of the page that the link goes to. And the URL can be provided either as a full qualified URL in the form of a complete address, http:// or can also be a relative address if the resource you're linking to is within the same file system where the file that links to that resource is. In this case, index.html and terms and condition HTML are in the same physical location, in the same folder together. So we can just link between them this way, just put in the name of the file. This will tell the browser that the resource is at the same exact address, the same exact location of this file. It's just a different file with a different name, but it's in the same place. What happens basically is that when you provide an href to an anchor, in this case termscon.html, the browser will use this information to compute the new URL where the user will be taken to. If you provide an absolute URL like http://www.google.com, the browser will take this whole URL and will put it in place of the one that is displaying at the moment you click on the link. If you put a relative URL like we did, termscon.html, the browser will just use this information to update the current URL displayed in the browser the moment you click on the link. So if you are in the index.html and you have this link and you click on this link, the browser will take the information here and it will just update the URL with the part that was present into the href attribute of the anchor tag. So let's get back to our file. So we save our index.html, we get back to the browser and we refresh. Now what are we seeing? If we drill down to the footer, we see how the anchor is rendered. So the first thing that we notice is that the anchor is not a block level element. Why? Because it doesn't take all of the horizontal space of the page. If you see on the left side of the page in the rendered content of the page, the anchor just takes the space of its content. It's an inline element, in other words. The second thing that we notice is that the content of the anchor is visually displayed differently from the rest of the text. It's not a simple black text, but it's blue in this case and is underlined. This is the default way in which a browser, or this particular type of browser, Chrome in this case, represents an hyperlink. And if we move our cursor on top of the link, we see that the cursor changes from an arrow to a pointing hand. Again, this is a behavior provided by the browser that will help the user to understand that this is a clickable link. And if you click this link, something will happen. In this case, if you click this link, the second page will be loaded. If you look at the URL of the page in the address bar, we can see that it's changed and now it's termscon.html and the user is now looking at the second page that we provided. A very useful resource when using and study HTML elements is the Mozilla HTML element reference. It's linked in the lesson description. Here you will find a complete list of all the tags that HTML provides. And for each tag, like for example the anchor that we just saw, you can click on the link, on the hyperlink, and you will have a detailed explanation of what the tag is for and what kind of attributes it accepts and what is the meaning of each of the attributes that it can accept. For example, the href is the attribute that we just saw, and you get a detailed explanation of the meaning and purpose of each attribute. So this is an invaluable asset that you should keep always open when you work with HTML.